Good afternoon, everyone. For those who have only joined us, let me introduce myself. I am Divya Rai, Program Executive and a Research Scholar at the National Maritime Foundation. I welcome you to the 2023 edition of the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue. The theme of our second session is Maritime Connectivity Initiatives across the Indo-Pacific. Before I ask the ED to give Commodore Debesh Lahiri to provide the sessional overview, may I request the team NMF to kindly play the session video and encapsulating the essence of the session.
The Indo-Pacific has been experiencing substantial changes in terms of the ongoing power transition, the struggle to maintain a related balance of power, founded upon a consensually derived rules-based order, and all related aspects intertwined within the web of economics, commerce, and trade. From this crucible, a new set of alliances, partnerships, and anxieties have emerged, many of them pointed at China, either directly, indirectly, or inferred. Two successive Chinese presidents, President Hu Jintao and President Xi Jinping, realizing the need for more comprehensive presence in all areas of the maritime domain, have paved a path for China to evolve into a maritime great power through an increasingly forceful approach that appears to be unmindful of national and regional sensitivities. While several nations are responding to China's actions and activities, there is no semblance of a coordinated mechanism to address the many issues that have emerged. The aggressive rise of China as a maritime power is pervasive and dangerous, with serious geo-economic and geostrategic maritime overtones. Beijing seeks to realize Xi Jinping's China dream of being the predominant world power by the year 2049. This is now only 26 years away, and President Xi is running out of time. Against this background, this session aims to bring together experts from across the Indo-Pacific to examine, review, and discuss critical and impactful issues, such as the impact of competing Sino-Indian influences on Nepal's access to the Bay of Bengal, the darker side of China's maritime Silk Route, analysis of Chinese port development in Lamu, analysis of Chinese port development in South Asia, resisting trade coercion, Australia-India, maritime alternatives, and Chinese Indo-Pacific maritime expansionism, Philippines response options. Collaborative dialogues and forums are the order of the day as nations come together to discuss shared objectives and strategies for a sustainable maritime future. Join us as we explore the profound changes unfolding in this vibrant region in Session 2 of the Indo-Pacific Regional Dialogue 2023, Maritime Connectivity Initiatives across the Indo-Pacific.
Thank you so much. May I now request the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, Chairman of the National Maritime Foundation, Director General of the National Maritime Foundation, and the Executive Director of the National Maritime Foundation to please come on stage. I now request Commodore Debesh Lahiri, the Executive Director of the National Maritime Foundation, to afford a sessional overview. Over to you, sir.
Check. Thank you, Divya. General Anil Chauhan, Chief of the Defense Staff and Secretary to the Government of India. Admiral R. Harikumar, Chief of the Naval Staff of the Republic of India. Admiral Karambir Singh, Chairman NMF and former Chief of the Naval Staff of the Republic of India. Admiral Pradeep Chauhan, Director General of the National Maritime Foundation. Dignitaries, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to the second professional session, which will endeavor to vividly depict the many ongoing initiatives to enhance maritime connectivity across the wide expanse of the Indo-Pacific. Maritime connectivity, as we are all aware, is the current buzzword and has been aptly depicted in our promotional sessional video for this edition of the IPRD and for this special session. This learned audience will appreciate the fact that the theme of this edition of the IPRD, that is Geopolitical Impacts upon Indo-Pacific Maritime Trade and Connectivity, has been cerebrally curated with each professional session not only holding its own importance, but also being an integral part of the conference theme. In this sessional overview, in addition to what you've seen in this sessional video, I have only 3 points to make, which are important in my opinion in the context of this session. Firstly, when you talk of maritime connectivity initiatives, the most recent initiative which springs to mind in the India, Middle East, Europe multimodal corridor, about which we had the good fortune of listening to the Honorable Finance Minister of India in the pre-lunch session. So I shall not dwell more on that. How the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict plays out in West Asia and how it impinges upon the implementation of the IMEC remains to be seen. The next most obvious initiative, which since its inception has occupied rent-free accommodation, I repeat, rent-free accommodation in the minds of strategic thinkers of all hues, is the maritime component of the Chinese-driven Belt and Road Initiative, namely the Maritime Silk Route in the Indo-Pacific and in the Mediterranean Sea. The BRI has now more or less been subsumed into the Global Development Initiative, which also incorporates the Polar Silk Route through the Arctic. Secondly, an important aspect of maritime connectivity are the ports as nodes, which has been discussed in depth in the first session, and it is against this backdrop that the Chinese developments in the development of the port of Lamu in the northeastern tip of Kenya and the ports in South Asia, namely Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, looms large in the consciousness of every maritime professional. I am sanguine that this August Assembly will wholeheartedly agree that the Indo-Pacific, for all intents and purposes, is a maritime domain and influences the hinterlands as also the landlocked states which have linkages with this maritime geography. And it is in this context that Nepal is a classic example of a landlocked state being influenced by access to the nearest maritime expanse, that is the Bay of Bengal. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, there are rules, or rather, the repeated violation of rules-based international order at sea and the creeping cartographic aggression by China in the Yellow Sea, in the West Philippine Sea, the East Vietnam Sea, essentially the many regional seas bordering East Asian and Southeast Asian nations, with the sole long-term aim of redefining its maritime geography based on false claims. So in a nutshell, it hardly needs any emphasis that there is much to ponder, to think, to rationally debate, to discuss, and to evolve specific actionable recommendations. And to do that, who better than the star-studded lineup of acclaimed experts from the Indo-Pacific region and beyond in the professional session after the invitational address by the Chief of Defense Staff. Ladies and gentlemen, take some deep breaths and get set to absorb wisdom from wise men and women. Thank you for a patient hearing, and Jai Hind.